Please remember that all the charges put against Michael Burham before the escape have still not gone to trial, and he is only alleged to have done them. His guilt or innocence will have to be determined by a judge and a jury of his peers. In the matter of the escape, the situation would seem to be self-evident. He is 34 years old, and his last known address was in Asheville, New York, just west of Jamestown. He also owned some property in Russell, Pennsylvania, near the town of Warren. Burham had served with the U.S. Army Reserve from February 2008 until December of 2020. Burham also had 2 children, each with different women in Jamestown, New York. One of the women, 34-year-old Kayla Mae Hodgkin, the mother of his 11-year-old daughter, alleged that she had been held against her will and sexually assaulted on March the 13th of 2023 in Jamestown, New York. A warrant was sworn out for his arrest, and the first of many searches for Burham would ensue. Apparently, Michael had gone back across state lines into Pennsylvania and started hiding out near the town of Warren, a bit over 60 miles away. He managed to avoid arrest for nearly a month before police say that he returned to Jamestown to wreak revenge on Kayla. On May the 11th, Jamestown police were dispatched to investigate a report of shots fired at 125 William Street in that town. Upon arrival, they found Kayla Hodgkin unresponsive and suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. She would soon succumb to those mortal injuries. Just minutes later, another patrol car was dispatched across town for a report of a domestic disturbance with attempted breaking and entering at 109 Fulton Street. By the time officers arrived on the scene, the perpetrator had fled and had set fire to a BMW vehicle parked in the street. Home was occupied by Nicole Olive, the mother of Michael Burham's 13-year-old son. Video captured from Nicole's Ring doorbell camera showed a man who appeared to be very much like Michael, rattling the doorknob and attempting to get in. Another incident of arson in the town at Danielson Oil happened not long after. Connection to the other events is still being investigated. Police immediately put out a be on the lookout or BOLO alert for Michael. Burham, it is thought, immediately headed back across the state line.
Police identified him as a suspect in a crime spree in Jamestown. On May 11th, someone set fire to Danielson Oil. Police found a woman's body on William Street, and they responded to a car fire.
According to the criminal complaint filed before Magistrate Judge Kenneth Schroeder Jr., the Federal Bureau of Investigation alleges that a vehicle reported being seen at both homes was actually one vehicle that had been rented by Burham. The credit card used to secure the vehicle from Enterprise Rent-A-Car was Burham's. The address given was for 4681 Miller Hill Road in Russell, Pennsylvania, a property owned at one time by Michael Burham, and the phone number provided was also registered to Michael Burham according to the FBI. Burham would return the rental car, and according to FBI Special Agent Jeffrey Hamza, he said the man could be seen on surveillance tapes leaving the area on foot. Shortly after, Burham would check out of a local hotel. Investigations showed that Burham had rented the room at that hotel on May the 9th, paying with his own credit card and providing his state-issued driver's license for ID at that time. Later in the day, another vehicle, one that had been previously associated with Burham and had been spotted at the hotel, was recovered in Warren, Pennsylvania, apparently abandoned by the man. There would be no more sightings of Michael in the coming days. After ditching the vehicle, Burham ghosted away, possibly heading into the nearby forests to hide out. As police from Jamestown, New York and Warren, Pennsylvania searched the area with the assistance from federal and state authorities, Burham managed to stay off the radar. He was the subject of regular news reports and wanted posters were put out for him throughout the region, but to no avail. Then, on May the 20th, some 9 days later, a 911 call led Pennsylvania State Police to do a wellness check on an elderly couple living in Sheffield, Pennsylvania, just 12 miles down the road. The couple, Jessica and David Aronson, had been expected at their granddaughter's soccer game earlier in the day but had never arrived. Calls to their house and cell phones by the daughter had gone unanswered, and their silver 2022 Honda CR-V was missing from the home. An immediate missing persons report was sent out, and police in Pennsylvania and neighboring states began looking for the Honda and the couple. It would be the next day, on May the 21st, when the South Carolina Highway Patrol would be dispatched to a report of the Aronsons being found, thankfully alive. They told police they had been kidnapped at gunpoint by a man they identified as Michael Burham. They said they had seen the alerts about him prior to encountering the man and recognized him immediately. They told police that he then forced them to get in the car and ride with him south and out of the search area, crossing over at least 3 other state lines before finally forcing them out of the car at a cemetery. Luckily, he drove off without causing any further harm to the elderly couple, but leaving them stranded in North Charleston, South Carolina, a long way from home, but not much worse for wear. It wouldn't be long before state troopers and police found Aronson's Honda CR-V just a short distance down the road from where they had been dropped off. The car, abandoned, had a very curious note left inside, written by Michael Burham and addressed to his father, Wally Burham. It read, "Hey Dad, I'm safe for now. Just left the area. Sorry for all the problems I caused the family. I quit drinking since May the 10th. I am not sorry for what I did, however. I do feel terrible about the children. I would like to adopt. Talk to you soon. Love, Mike. P.S. Transfer the phone to your name." Berkeley County deputies and police from neighboring areas were put on alert to be looking for any signs of Burham. In one case, a man riding a bicycle down one of the country roads was stopped by deputies and questioned at the side of the road after backup officers arrived on the scene. Dashcam footage from one of the backup patrol vehicles on the scene showed the results of the stop. As the officers question the man, he begins to take stock of his chances. After looking at the physical condition of the 3 deputies that were around him, Burham decided to leg it and took off for the woods. The deputies, almost comically, lunged after him before quickly giving up the foot chase. Before long, a local homeowner would call police to let them know that a strange man had been seen near a shed on their property. This time, after sending a larger contingent of police, Burham was caught and brought out of the woods on May the 24th. He would be transferred to Buffalo, New York on June the 14th, where he would stand on the interstate felony charges. Those federal charges against him would be waived to allow him to be extradited and charged first in Pennsylvania, with the intention of him also being prosecuted in New York State for the alleged murder and arson. On June the 20th, Burham would be put into the Warren County Jail to await trial under a $1 million bond. And wait, he did, at least for a while. As per Pennsylvania Department of Corrections rules, Burham was allowed 1 hour of time each day to go into the yard and exercise. At this small facility, built to house people who are awaiting trial or who had been sentenced to less than 2 years of medium security imprisonment, the yard was an enclosed chain-link cage on the top floor of the facility, open to the elements with chain link over the top of it. The 40 by 40 foot enclosure also featured exercise equipment and a weight machine. Each day, Burham and 2 other inmates would be allowed to make use of the area for their exercise time, while detention officers monitored the yard either in person or through CCTV. It was during this time that Burham must have spotted a weak spot or possibly a broken area in the enclosure at the top of the cage. Realizing that that spot was near the pull-up bar's equipment, he put a plan into work that saw him creating a rope from prison-issued bed sheets. On Thursday night, July the 6th, just after 11 p.m., Burham was let out into the yard with 2 other inmates. 22 minutes later, he was still visible on the CCTV cameras. At 23 minutes, he was gone. In the couple of minutes it took to verify what they saw, Burham had climbed up on the pull-up machine, made his way through the chain-link fence, then the adjoining metal roof of the building. He secured his rope and climbed down to the ground below some 4 stories, a height that likely would have killed him had the knots on the rope slipped or if he had lost his grip. The last image anyone has of him at the jail that night was a security camera footage of him making his getaway. Orange striped pants and shirt, orange Croc shoes, and his prison-issued denim jacket. He disappeared into the night. Authorities immediately posted an all-points lookout for the escaped prisoner, advising any and all that Michael Burham was to be considered armed and dangerous. Knowing that he was a self-taught survivalist with a good knowledge of the nearby 800-square-mile Allegheny National Forest, resources were called in at the local, state, and federal levels. Some 15 agencies began combing the nearby towns and highways. Patrolmen, deputies, state police, park rangers, fish and wildlife officers, and FBI agents swarmed to the area. Residents were urged to keep their homes and cars locked and to be mindful that the man had already been accused of one murder and kidnapping. Helicopters, drones, and tracking dogs would be brought in to search for the man. Over the coming days, leads were followed, a couple of potential survival gear stashes were found, and questions arose as to whether or not he had assistance from someone in the community. Back in Jamestown, New York, the survivors from the attack on Kayla Hodgkin's home were whisked away to safety, and Nicole Overton and her family were taken into protective custody just in case he was able to make it back there. Jailhouse telephone call records showed that he had called his son at her home just hours before he made his escape. He asked what the boy had done for the 4th of July holiday and whether or not he and his mother were still at their home. Over the next 9 days, roughly 200 officers would be actively searching for the man. Hunches that he would have more difficulty this time and would basically be trapped in the area did pan out. On July the 15th, a couple of hours before dusk, Burham was led from the woods in handcuffs. His flight was over. He would be returned to the jail and quickly transferred to a more secure facility to await trial, now facing even more charges than before. At the time of this video, the new court date had not been set for Michael Burham. At the request of the Warren County Commission, repairs were slated to be made at the local jail, and the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections had been asked to come in and review the facility to improve their security. We will keep you updated if anything comes of this trial or if Michael Burham somehow manages to disappear again. In all of the excitement of the escape, manhunt, and recapture, we must remember the crimes that Burham stands accused of are among the worst ones on the books. If he was the man who did them, then we should be thankful that he harmed no one else during his flight.